This
variable
conference will now be recorded.
or
Oh.
methods, variable.
Mhm.
That's all.
Mhm. Okay. So we can use this with the variable level, this with the method level,
A
and
method table.
this with the constructor level.
Okay.
Okay, fine, that's fine. And apart from that, there are some other places also we'll use, but majorly these three. So this with the variable, what exactly this with the variable refers to?
Uh, Usually we use it in constructors,
Hmm.
like this dot variable name is equal to while initializing it in constructor.
So why do we use this in constructor? This dot, whatever it may be. Why we will be using?
To refer to the current object.
Okay, in the sense, what exactly will happen? Can you give me an idea? This guy.
Maybe it considers a object in which it will make a object in which it will allocate a variable and everything. So this refers to that particular object. That's all.
Okay. Okay. This x is here global variable, and this dot x. When you're both your local variable and global variable are same, to make sure that whatever you are assigning to the variable locally, that
Okay.
value I would like to make it visible to any other method anywhere I want to make it available in the application. Then we will be using this. When your local variable names and global variable names are same, so then in that case we will be using this keyword, and this keyword can be used to refer current class instance. And when you are using for a variable, when both the names are same, in that case only we'll be using this. If they both are different, then there's no need of using this. So to make sure that you're assigning your local variable value, you are going to assign it to the global. Why we have to make it local variable value to global variable? Why we will be using that? So that global variable value can be accepted anywhere in the application, right? So
Yes.
its scope is visible anywhere. But if I say locally, it is not visible. So that's the reason what we will be doing is sometimes we are going to make it this keyword to make it a local variable value, make it available to global. This can be used basically in the constructor basically. Apart from that, we can use it in the methods or anywhere else also. So the main purpose of this is with the variable is if you want to assign local variables to global variable, then values if you want to set it, then in that case we'll be using this keyword.
Okay.
Makes sense, Gayatri?
Yes, correct. I got it.
Okay, now the names when the both are same, if you say x equal to x, so then the computer get confused. Sorry, the JVM get confused. He's talking about which variable. We have global variable same and local variable same. In that case, if both are same, if I say x equal to x, the JVM will get an ambiguity. So to avoid that, we are going to use this in front of. So this means it understands that okay, this is pointing to global R.
Current.
This is pointing to global R instance.
Okay.
This can be also used with the method. Do you want me to show an example or is that okay?
So here in this example, okay, when x is equal to x, we use this dot x is equal to x. Got it.
Hmm.
If it is different xy, we don't have to use it.
Right.
Got it.
When your local variables and global variables are not same, then don't need. Why should we use basically same? Why can't we give different? When you are working in a project, there are multiple parameters you'll be working. So in that case, student number, if a student name, if I say, if I use instead of student name, if I use some parameter, some other parameter, it doesn't make sense. In that case, that's the reason what we'll do is we don't want to alter the parameter names when you're giving a locally or when you're passing it to the constructor. So that's the reason they thought that okay, the same names we have to use, but it has to point to the globally. So in that case, what is the alternate? That's the reason they have introduced this keyword. Okay,
Yes.
that is this with the variable, and we have this with the method also. Why should we use this with method?
I don't know.
Hello.
I don't know.
Okay, not a problem. So this with the method. You know method propagation. Method propagation. Any idea?
No.
Okay. So propagation of the method is nothing but I have M1. I'm going to call. I have M2. I have M3. There are some times we would like to call a method inside a method. A method inside another method. That is called
Method.
propagation.
Okay.
A method inside a method we are going to call that is called a propagation. If they are of same class, if this method has to be available in any other method, what we have to say is actually we have to call this dot m. When you are doing a propagation of a method, we need this keyword. Okay, here it has this code, and apart from that, if I say this dot m1, it might have something else also. Here I would like to say that apart from that M2 functionality, it's going to have M1 functionality also. For some reason, they wanted to access it. In that case, we need to use this keyword. Are you getting me? So if you are accessing a method inside any other method, that's called method propagation. So when you are doing method propagation, I have M1 and M1 has some code, and I have M2. M2 has a dependency on M1. So when you have a dependency on M1, so we can call with that the method, you can access that method this of M1. So current
What
class.
what if we just call M1 itself without this keyword?
See, the point I would like to say here is this means actually you are accessing any method inside any method. So then you are going to use this. So if you don't use this, also will it not be possible? Yes, it is possible because by default, for all the methods in the same application, this is available. So if you write or if you don't write this keyword in front of the method, it's not a problem. I would like to say you this point, and you have asked me directly. Okay.
Then my question is like, if it is not a problem, then why are we exactly using it?
So they mean that by default this is available to the methods. They made it available.
Okay, by
They
default.
made it available if they are in the same application. They made it available this. But if I take different application, can I call the method? No, I cannot call. So I don't need to say every time this for the methods. I mean that
Okay.
the Java vendors design in such a way that if they are in the same class, the method can access other method without using this keyword. If you're using this keyword, that's not a problem, but you don't need to use it. It is by default. This is available
If
for
it is
the
in other class,
other class. We have to create, we have to access with the class name, and then I have to access it. If the
okay.
method is static, then I have to. Otherwise, I have to create an object of that class and I have to access it.
Okay.
You're getting me, Gayatri? If it is other
Yes.
class, I have to create an object and I have to access that method. But if it is a static method, I don't need to create an object. I can call directly the method with the class name.
Okay.
Make
Got it.
sense?
Yes.
So this with the method name we have seen. This I don't need to say. I don't need to say this because by default it is available. Now I'm calling M3. I'm not calling any other methods. Now what will happen? Hello?
Yeah, got it.
You can see 600. I am one, but I have given two only for this one. Remaining I
Yeah.
did not get. Still, this is available for them. I don't need to write it. Still, it is available
Default. Okay.
by default.
Okay.
So we have seen this with the method, this with the now this with the constructor. What is the point of this with the constructor?
For initializing,
It's also same like a method. I have some constructor, empty constructor, and in the empty constructor, I want to see in the parameterized constructor, I want to see the empty constructor functionality, and I can say this. Just if I say open bracket and close bracket, that means you are going to call the empty constructor over here. And suppose I have another third constructor with the two parameters, and this constructor has a dependency on then single parameter is constructor. Then I have to say this of what is the type of parameter if I pass, and automatically that constructor is available. Are you getting me?
yes, got it.
So this is we are going to use in a rare cases. If you require, then only you'll be calling in this way. A constructor inside another constructor, very rare chances we'll be calling. So that I don't need to create objects for entire things now. I can create only one object. If I create an object for this, that means I'm initializing all the remaining objects also. This one also I'm initializing, and the empty also I'm initializing. If you have a chance, then only you have to use it. Otherwise, if it is required, then only you'll be using. Otherwise, no. Are you getting me?
Yes, got it.
So this is about this with the variable and this with method and this with construct. There are some other possibilities also this. I'll discuss some other point of time. I hope you got them now. What is this with the variable and with the method and with the construct?
Yes, got it.
Gayatri?
Yeah, got it.
Fine. Sometimes, sorry, Gayatri, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Suppose we have a class. Sometimes this class variable, I need to pass it to a method.
Okay.
I need to pass, not here he's passing, but in some other classes, we will be passing. Here he has shown in the same example, but there are some dependencies. If you want to, if you want to have the functionality of any other class, basically you either be extending or else you are going to create an object. So when you are creating an object, that is called tight coupling. When you are extending a class, that is called a loose coupling. When you extend a class, that is called
Right.
loose coupling.
No, I didn't
Okay.
get it.
When you create an object, that is called tight coupling.
Okay.
So in both the cases, we would like to get the functionality. In both the cases, we would like to get the functionality. That's it. In that case, S2 obj I'm saying, and method is invoked. I have written S2 as a parameter to M. Can't we? Is it required? Yes. Sometimes we also need it. Our class type also as a parameter. We need to pass it.
Okay.
Keyword can also be passed as an argument in the method. This keyword. So in that case, so if this is basically you want to handle an event, that means when I click on that, it has to, an event has to happen immediately. I mean, for the same one, I'm going to give it. It is not going to have some other dependency. In that case, we are going to use this. Basically, we don't use it over here. We will be calling this way in another way. In that case, m of in some other method, I can say this m of this. That means current instance only. So this is basically used event handling methodology. Okay, so if you're clicking on that, so the same action should be happen. It doesn't have any other things. That's the meaning of it. So this is one of the way we are going to pass it. What do you say? Pass an argument to pass as an argument. That is this keyword. This is we'll be using basically in some other classes, and this is also used some other time for constructor also. I have B class, I have A4 class. So A4 class, I would like to pass it to B. Yes, we can pass it. We can pass it. That means we have a dependency. This is an example for a dependency injection. Instead of directly creating an object of a A4 in my B class, what I can do is I can copy that copy to a constructor. That is called copy constructor. We are going to create a constructor of B. We are going to pass it this value. Okay, and at the time of calling B has a dependency of a object A. So here what we are doing is inside the B we are not creating an object, but instead of that we are passing it as a parameter. So that it is a dependency is there, but it is loose coupling. Are you getting me, Gayatri?
Yes, got it.
Dependency is there, but still it is a loose coupling. That means direct object I am not taking. When I'm taking that object means if that object got modified, there will be effects on this application. So that's the reason what we do is instead of doing that, we are going to pass it as a parameter, and later we are going to create somewhere else the object and we are going to pass it. That's what we'll have. So that is we'll be going to in some examples in future time.
Okay.
So this with the variable, this with the method, and this with the constructor are important. That's it. So I don't need to teach you inheritance. Probably you know what is inheritance.
Yeah. Yes.
So what are the types of inheritance, Gayatri?
In Java, uh, we have single inheritance, single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance. That's all.
Single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and
Multi-level.
multiple
Multiple is not there.
multiple inheritance is not there, right? Wonderful. What is multi-level inheritance?
If we have like three classes, class A extends B and then class B extends C, it's like uh, sub parent, grandparent, and child.
Why we need an inheritance, Gayatri?
Uh,
Why do we go for inheritance?
to acquire properties of the parent class.
Properties and behavior.
Properties and behavior.
Behavior. Properties and behavior.
Behavior.
Properties, variables, values. Behavior means method functionality.
Yes.
Okay. There is no other way to get the behavior of functionality of the other class. Do you think? What do you think, Jyoti? Gayatri?
In Java,
Hmm.
I think that's all.
I'm sorry?
That's all. Only two ways, multi-level and single level.
If I create an object and can't I get the functionality of the other class?
Yes.
So then why we are going for this?
To extend, to acquire the properties and behavior and extend to it, to add more.
No, Gayatri, what I'm telling is if I create another class object in here and I'm writing additional functionality also in the same class, no? So then what is the problem in that? So that's also good, right?
Yes.
I can have my class functionality, and if I get the object, I can get that functionality also in my class. So then what is the problem? We don't have any problem, right?
No.
Then why do we need inheritance?
To group them.
Is a relationship. We would like to create a relation in such a way that parent-child relation, or we call it as is a relation. If I do inheritance, the possibility I have some advantages. The advantage is I don't need to create an object of superclass. If I create an object of subclass, indirectly I'm creating an object of superclass. If I'm creating an object of a subclass is nothing but I'm creating an object of a superclass. And any variable or any method, I can access it directly. But if the two classes doesn't have any relation, then we must have to create an object and we have to access it. That means you are allocating a memory of that object in your local class and you are ready to access it. So here you're making as a friend. So when you say a friend, it will be giving you whatever the required things. You're going to make a relation that is easier relationship. That means you're going to extend that. I don't want to modify the existing one, but I want the existing one, and also I would like to add a new functionality. I would like to add an existing for the existing class. I want to add a new functionality. But that one, what I'm telling is that I cannot modify. The existing one I cannot modify. I can only use them. But here I can modify by means of extending. By means of a extend. We can modify the existing object by means of extending the class. If you don't want to modify, what you have to do? Declare it as a final.
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
So the point is here, we want to modify an existing object. Can we modify? Yes. By how? Inheritance. If you don't want to modify your object, what you have to do? Make it as final. That's no one can extend. No one can modify. Extension is nothing but they're going to modify. That means if they extend, they don't need to create an object of your class. They can create their class object and they can get all the functionality of yours. That means they are modifying the existing class. That's the meaning of here. Make sense?
Yes.
You got me right, Gayatri?
Yes. Yes.
Types of inheritance: single, multi-level. There's no multiple level inheritance in Java at all. There's no possibility. So this should not be possible because multiple level inheritance should not be supported because it leads to diamond problem. Class A has the same method. Class B has the same method. If class C is extending A comma B, if they have both the methods, your JVM will be getting confused. And this is called a diamond problem. To reduce the complexity, multiple inheritance is not supported. Consider A comma B ambiguity. It leads to ambiguity, confusion. That's the reason classes multiple inheritance is not supported in Java. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Why does multiple inheritance is not supported?
Because if there are like two methods with the same name, then the subclass will be confused or to pick which method. There will be ambiguity. So, and it will also give rise to diamond problem. So,
Okay. Some people they'll say that with the interfaces it is possible, but no. Interfaces is not a concept of inheritance. Only inheritance is there with the classes, not with the classes, not with the interfaces.
okay.
So what is aggregation? So easy means you're going to extend it. As a means you have a class, and what you are going to do is you are going to create another class variable, and you are going to access the code. That is called aggregation. Circle is there, and we are going to get operation thing over here. I'm going to create a variable of type, and later I'm going to somewhere else in the method or somewhere else I'm going to create an object of operation. So that means I'm going to get this method. I'm going to get this method in my other class. This is called aggregation. Code reuse is also best achieved by aggregation when there is no easy relationship. So inheritance should be used only if the relationship is maintained over the lifetime of the objects involved. Otherwise, aggregation is the best choice. When the object doesn't have a relation, what we have to do? When the object doesn't have a relation, then we have to go for has a relationship. What do you mean by has a relationship? We are going to create an address. We are going to pass it as a parameter. Address as a parameter. No, employee has a dependency on address. I'm passing it as a parameter. So later somewhere else, I create address object and I'm passing that object to my employee. That's a different story. So this is called aggregation. Hope you got me. What is the difference between inheritance and aggregation?
Yes.
Yeah, Gayatri?
Yes, got it.
What is aggregation?
Aggregation, we use it when there is no like direct relationship between two objects. Like you said in the past, using calling object of other class and then adding our own features.
Right.
It's called aggregation. I have a question.
Sure.
If interface does not come under inheritance object-oriented concept, then under what concept does it come?
Interface is as a separate, is not a concept related to, it's not a concept related to inheritance at all. Interface is a separate one. That's it. Okay. Interface is an interface which binds the data. It comes under encapsulation. If you want to bind some data, you can say you can use interfaces. which contains only unimplemented methods and where your class is going to implement. It's a different part.
Okay.
Are you getting me? But interface cannot be mixed up, cannot be compared with the inheritances. Are you getting me?
Okay. Yes.
What does an interface contains? Only unimplemented. So
Yes.
this method, someone has to implement it. Someone going to use it. It's a prototype. It's a prototype. But your class contains an implementation. What does a class contain? It contains implementation, where interface cannot contain implementation. That's the reason we'll never talk with the interfaces as an inheritance concept. Someone says also that is wrong. Are you getting me? There are some books or somewhere else they'll be pointing. Multiple inheritance is supported by interfaces. No. The Java vendors only, they didn't give multiple, they don't talk about interfaces with this thing. That's a separate concept at all. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Class contains implementation. Interfaces, no way implementation. They are meant for some specific purpose.
So it's not even under encapsulation.
Encapsulation, we can say. Encapsulation means binding the data. Binding, you are going to bind your variables and methods. Prototypes, you are going to write it over there. You are going to write only prototype. What methods should be there, what variables should be there. That prototype you are maintaining it.
Okay.
That is interface. It comes under encapsulation, we can say, but not inheritance. Okay. So coming to overloading in Java, how do you perform overloading? Sets, overloading and overriding. What is overloading and what is overriding? I'm not showing an example because you are okay with this. That's the reason I'm just briefing them.
Yeah, overloading is basically using the same same method name, but signature, the parameters in the signature will be different.
Signatures can be different. Wonderful, very nice. And overriding?
Overriding is same method name. We will change the uh, behavior of that method by using the same name.
Okay,
So overriding the existing properties.
wonderful. The classes must need to have a relation, right?
Yes.
If the classes doesn't have any relation, does it comes under overriding?
No.
It doesn't comes under overriding. Remember that. If the classes have a relation, then only we'll say overriding. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, no. Overriding we'll be doing. I don't want the existing class functionality. I'll modify it. Then only I'll going for overriding. So to do this overriding, I need extension of the classes. The classes need to have extension relationship. Are you getting me?
Yes.
That's all. Any other questions? Overriding and overloading.
So both overriding and overloading, they come under polymorphism.
Right. And one point I would like to tell you here, overloading comes under static polymorphism. Overriding comes under dynamic polymorphism.
Okay.
Overriding comes under static and overloading dynamic. Why? So overloading is also called static compile time, and overriding called as runtime. What do you mean by runtime polymorphism? That's very
Overriding is dynamic.
dynamic or runtime.
Okay.
Why do we say that as dynamic or runtime? I have a
Overriding.
class bind run method. I have some other extended class run method. So which method should be called? So this can be at this I can decide by creating an object. I'm creating a subclass object and I'm calling b.run. Now which method will be called? Subclass method.
Yes.
Obviously it is a subclass method. So that deciding is happening at the time of program running time. Who is going to decide? The JVM decides.
Okay.
The deciding is happening at the time of program creation. So that's the reason we call it as runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism. JVM decides. We have a superclass method and subclass method. So this method, when I'm calling, which method has to be called, this is going to be decided by JVM. How you are saying, sir? I'm saying that even I'm referring with the superclass, still I'm calling with the reference. I'm calling with the method with the superclass reference. Can I call that? Yes, I can call that. And this is called upcasting.
Okay.
Upcasting. Low level to high level. Your subclass can see superclass, but superclass cannot see subclass what is happening. That is upcasting. Low casting, downcasting is not possible in terms of inheritance. Because in terms of downcasting means I create a subclass object and can I assign it to the superclass? No, I cannot assign.
Okay.
That is downcasting. Downcasting is not possible in the inheritance concept. We are treating two classes, bike and splendor. Splendor class extends the bike class and overrides its run method. We are calling the run method by the reference variable parent class since it refers to the subclass object and subclass method overrides the parent class method. The subclass method it invokes at runtime since method invocation is determined by the JVM, not the compiler. Which method should be invoked? So that would be decided by JVM, not by compiler. So that's the reason we call it as runtime polymorphism.
Okay.
Or dynamic polymorphism. You have any questions, Gayatri?
No, it's clear.
You got me? Why it is runtime polymorphism?
Yes,
The
got
method
it.
call will be decided at the time of programming runtime. So even if I created a subclass object, even if I assign to the superclass parameter, this is fine. This way
In
I
this
can do it.
in this example, if I create a Splendor S is equal to new Splendor, then it's a static polymorphism because I'm not giving any reference of parent class.
Then static polymorphism you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But you're overriding a method, no? If you are calling that object, if you are calling that method means, obviously it is going to call the subclass method. That means dynamic polymorphism is there. Polymorphism can be decided. We are talking about overriding concept we are talking about.
Okay.
When if your class has overridden means, even if you create a subclass object, if you create a subclass object, if you create a subclass object with the reference of superclass, that also comes under dynamic polymorphism only. Actually,
Yeah.
we don't create in this way. We don't create in this way. But here he is telling that to show you what is runtime polymorphism, he is showing that. But he doesn't need to create like this also. He can create Splendor object only. Splendor object, if I say run method, which method will be called? Subclass method. That is what is the concept of overriding. So who is going to decide which method has to be called? JVM is deciding.
G.
So when JVM is deciding, that is called a runtime polymorphism. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So method overriding. Overridden means that's all. Existing functionality should be gone. Now new functionality has to be called. So this call, who will be taking care of? JVM is taking care of. That's the reason what we are calling it. We are calling it as a runtime polymorphism. Make sense, Gayatri?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, got it.
Any questions or any
No,
queries?
no question.
So dynamic binding. Runtime polymorphism, we have listened that. Dynamic binding and static binding. Is there any word difference? Variables have a type. Int data equal to 30. Public is a static void main. Dog extends animal. Public static void main. Dog d1 is equal to new dog. I'm creating a subclass object. Here d1 is an instance of dog class, but it is an instance of animal also, right? When I create an object of subclass, I told you that it's also instance of a superclass. Example of static binding. We are creating object of a dog, and we are calling d1.eat method, same class method. When the type of the object is determined at the time of compilation by the compiler, it is known as static binding. If there is any private, final, or static method in a class, there is static binding. If the method is private, final, or static method in a class, then that is called static binding. So this should be decided at compilation time. When the type of object is decided at the time of runtime, then that is known as dynamic binding. This is what we have discussed, new dog. So static binding or dynamic polymorphism, same. Okay, but dynamic static binding here is talking about if any method is private. Means if I have in the superclass, if I have a private method, if I want to access it, I have to create a superclass object only. Are you getting me?
Yes.
I have a superclass method, something I set it as private. If I want to access that private animal class method, I have to create a superclass object. I have to access it. So this decided at the time of compilation only. So if anything is private, final, or static, that means the deciding has happened at the time of compilation time itself. That's the reason static binding. So if it is not private, final, or general method, if you have and you are assigning in such a way, then that is called a dynamic binding. Simple. That's it. So we have seen so far what is a method overloading and what is inheritance, what is aggregation, what is this keyword. These are the things which we have discussed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is something else also. We'll be continuing the same thing in the next class. We have abstract classes, interfaces. If you want me to discuss, I'll discuss. Otherwise, I'll directly go from encapsulation and arrays, strings and all. It's up to you.
Okay.
Gayatri.
We can just like brush up or something.
Yeah, we'll brush up the things. Okay, I'll go step by step, instance one by one. I'm not showing any examples because you already got some knowledge. So that's the reason I don't want to waste your time also. Like we
Yeah.
can focus what is required. Okay.
Okay.
The coming session so that we can discuss more focus on servlets and JSPs so that we can give more time for Spring and Hibernate and these technologies we can give more time.
Okay.
Okay, so far whatever we have discussed, just to go through them, got a clarity on them. It's very important. Dynamic binding, what is dynamic binding, what is static binding, what is static polymorphism, what is dynamic polymorphism. Get in time, give some time and get back. Okay, in the next class I'll discuss with you what is an abstract class and what is an interface and what are the differences between them, and we'll try to close complete encapsulation tomorrow's session. Possible arrays. These are the things which we're going to cover tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Gayatri, do you have any other questions for me?
No, you said you will send the notes to my email.
I'm sorry?
You said you will send the notes to my email.
Yes. I will send you one the notes, right? Okay. I have some couple of programs also.
Okay.